According to a report, Pakistan is hoping to inject some fresh momentum into projects that actually fall under China's Belt and Road Initiative as it tries to boost the country's troubled economy. Pakistan is looking at joint ventures for renewable energy projects, agriculture collaboration, and possibly attracting some Chinese companies to relocate to Pakistan. This is what Ehsan Iqbal, Pakistan's Federal Minister for Planning, Development and Special Initiatives, who also actually co-heads the committee responsible for the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, has said on record. Pakistan is the world's largest host of Belt and Road Initiative projects, with the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor involving $62 billion in spending. Reports, in fact, suggest that China has provided developing countries with over $1.1 trillion in loans through its Belt and Road Initiative. In fact, reports say that 80% of the loans involve countries in financial distress like Pakistan. Gaurie Dwivedi is tracking the latest developments for us. She joins us live at the moment. Gaurie, a rather interesting development. As we were discussing, it comes a fortnight after India signed a long-term lease for equipping and operating the strategic Iranian port of Chabahar. Right, Gaurie, you seem to be on mute.
Apologize for that, Parmeshwar. A lot of this is due to the fact that there are compulsions driving this initiative and resurgence of that entire initiative once again on both sides. On Pakistani side, remember, there is dire strait as far as the economic situation is concerned. They've just managed to get fresh lease of life of another $3 billion from IMF, but there are serious downside risks that have been pointed out by the IMF to the Pakistani economy. Now, in that situation, revival of BRI and getting fresh funding from China for its CPEC projects is really the best bet that Pakistan has right now. On China's side, remember, they've been also, the reason why CPEC is so important for China is that it allows them to, of course, create a major counter as far as India is concerned. So that's the reason why both sides want CPEC to get a fresh lease of life. Now, of course, it comes after India has been able to sign Chabahar port. And for China, it makes sense to get the Gwadar port going once again. There are a lot of reasons why the project in the last 10 years has faced enough and more of hurdles. First being the fact that the Pakistani population there is deeply resentful of Chinese investments because they feel these are investments that are only helping Chinese companies, Chinese contractors, Chinese employees, and not helping the Pakistani population. And the second is there is still no answer from the Pakistani side to Chinese questions of how do you provide security to the projects that are already on ground, given the fact that there have been multiple attacks, one as recently as a couple of weeks back.
As always, Gaurie, thank you so much for taking us through the latest developments and contextualizing the story for us. For further clarity on the matter, we also have Michael Kugelman joining us live from Washington, D.C. at the moment. Michael, always a pleasure to speak to you. It's not a secret that lenders like China extract their pound of flesh, as they did in leasing a substantial part of the Gwadar port and special economic zone. But Michael, one can't help but read between the lines with Pakistan now wanting to revive China's Belt and Road Initiative projects.
Well, as was said before, Pakistan is going through a major economic slump, and it's in a situation where it needs as much as it can get, and it's doing what it typically does when it goes through an economic crisis, and it turns to its small number of allies, of economic partners that it could turn to. We have seen in recent weeks that it's been somewhat successful in securing new pledges from its partners in the Gulf, particularly Saudi Arabia, but it really is hoping to inject some more momentum into CPEC by projecting this idea that it's ready to move into this second phase. But you know what? We've been hearing about this new second phase for many years, which is not a really good sign, quite frankly. For so long, Pakistan has been talking about moving into a new phase, but it's really been hard to get beyond that first phase. And I have to emphasize what your reporters said before. China's concerns about the security situation loom very large here. And as much as Pakistan would like to bring more Chinese projects into Pakistan, it's going to be very difficult to do that, quite frankly, until Beijing is more reassured about the security situation. And for Beijing, that ensures they're seeing that there not be any more attacks on its interest, on its nationals in Pakistan working on projects there.
Right, Pakistan, though, continues to be a key element of China's string of pearls policy to create a sphere of influence around India. Beijing, as we know, stands firmly behind Pakistan in terms of sovereignty and territorial integrity. As far as China is concerned, China's reiterated that military cooperation is at the core of bilateral relations, and they'll jointly maintain the security interests of the two countries and the region as well. But, Michael, what's the message India should extract from this?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I don't think we shouldn't overstate the significance of what we're talking about right now. The fact that Pakistan is looking for more. Again, Islamabad is going to be very cautious about how far it goes. It's one thing to put out the very strong and happy rhetoric. I think that the Prime Minister wants to bank on his party's close relations with the Chinese government. It was, of course, Nawaz Sharif that launched CPEC back in the day. And I think it's important for domestic political reasons for Islamabad to be projecting confidence and to be projecting this message of we're going to make this work with China. But Pakistan has to be very careful. It cannot afford to take on many more loans and exacerbate its debt problems. So I think that for India, for New Delhi, the major takeaway here is not to read too much into this. I really don't think that we're going to see a newfound momentum in this CPEC project as much as Pakistan and China would like to see that.
Right. Also, Michael, some experts argue that for Pakistan, China is a low-cost, high-value deterrent against India. Does your perception align with this argument?
Well, I mean, absolutely. One big reason why the China-Pakistan relationship is what it is that both countries are keen to work with each other to counter India. I mean, that's always been one of the major focal points and points of strength for this relationship, to sort of come together and see each other as working together to push back against India. That's going to continue, and I think that's why, despite some of the tensions that have crept into China-Pakistan relations because of the slowdown in CPEC and because of the concerns, the security concerns for China and Pakistan, that shared interest in countering India is going to keep this relationship very strong for quite some time.
Right, Michael, thank you so much, as always, for joining us on The World 24/7 with clearer insight into the matter.